Babruysk city, located in Mogilev region in Belarus, not only attracts visitors with its interesting name derived from the word beaver in Russian, but also presents itself as a nice city with a number of spots worth visiting and historical landmarks, including a fortress. It has different architecture and memorials, beautiful churches, green parks, and river Berezina. It has a modern sporting arena, stadium, theater, different plants including the tractor unit plant, and everything that makes the city a livable and nice place. It's my hometown. This is where I was born and raised, and in this video I would like to share this place with you. Let's start with the history of the city. It's one of the oldest cities in Belarus, and it was first mentioned in writing in 1387. In 1902, the Great Fire of Babruysk destroyed a big part of the city, which was quickly rebuilt, this time with brick and stone. On June 29, 1944, during World War II, the Red Army liberated Babruysk. The city lay in ruins. These days, Babruysk is a modern city with a population of over 200,000 people. If you visit the city, one of the things that will stand out for you will be a number of beavers you'll see around. So what's the deal with Babruysk and why there are so many cute beavers in town? Well, the name Babruysk is associated with the Babruyka River, where beavers are believed to have lived. Beaver in Belarusian is babyor and bobr in Russian. There we go, the name Babruysk now makes more sense, where in Belarusian it is spelled Babruysk with A and in Russian Babruysk with O. So now that we know why Babruysk is called this way, let's go on a small tour around the city and see what it has to offer, shall we? We'll start with the train station, which will likely be a first stop if you arrive in Babruysk by train from Minsk, for example. The train station was renovated in 2004. However, until then, long-distance trains used to stop at the railway station Berezina, which is named after the river, by the way. The building there has a particularly historical meaning. Now, this railway station is more conveniently located, considering that next to it there is also a city bus station. From this bus station you can easily take a bus or a minibus to other cities in Belarus. It will take less than 2 hours, for example, to get to Minsk from here. As you walk further from the stations, you will see this recently built apartment building with a huge sign on top. Babruysk is a place for living. From this place where we are, we can easily get to the city center either by public transport or taxi or your own car. By the way, if you drive to Babruysk from Minsk, for example, you won't miss this chapel, which has truly become a city postcard. Right, let's continue to get to know Babruysk, and our next stop will be Lenin Square, which is not only the biggest square in the city, but also one of the biggest squares in Belarus. Lenin Square is a nice place to walk and relax. In the summer, there are special many flowers, and it's just a beautiful area to stroll. Here you will also see the monument to Lenin, the city's department store, and a fountain, a popular place to hang out. At the time when I was walking, the fountain was unfortunately off. Now, if you look at the map, you'll see that Lenin Square is relatively close to the sports arena and Babruysk Fortress, so let's take a walk over there. On the way, you can't miss the St. George Cathedral. As you pass the cathedral and keep walking along, Karbachevo Street, you'll see Babruisk Arena on the left and Babruisk Fortress on the right. Babruisk Arena is an indoor sporting arena and it is used to host various indoor events. It was opened in 2008. Babruisk Fortress was built between 1810 and 1836. It is one of the best surviving examples of fortification architecture and design in the first half of the 19th century. The fortress was constructed at the confluence of the Babruika and Berezina rivers. It was one of the Western Russian fortresses. Following the Napoleonic Wars, in 1820, the fortress was further rapidly expanded by the addition of 18 more bastions and towers. By 1900, the fortress lost its military significance and was converted into a jail. During World War II, it was used as a concentration camp by German occupation forces. The Babruisk Fortress was registered as a National Architectural Monument of Belarus. Today, less than half of the bastions on the citadel have survived. About 50 facilities, such as the tower, barracks, are badly damaged. There is another place worth visiting while we are here, and this is the river Berezina. And because there is a sanatorium nearby, you can find a small beach adjacent to it. The view of the river is great, and overall it is a nice place to enjoy a day out. Alright, let's go back to the city center, and now we are walking from Lenin Square along Sotsialisticheskaya Street, which will take us to a few landmarks. And here is the very important memorial dedicated to those who served in the military and died while on duty in other countries, mainly in Afghanistan. This monument means a lot to me as my dad also served in Afghanistan in the 80s. Now, across from the memorial, there is a little garden adjacent to the St. Nicholas Cathedral. It's a beautiful place in the middle of the city where it is just a pleasure to take a walk, sit on the bench, admire different trees, and just to have quiet time with nature. Next to the park, there is St. Nicholas Cathedral. The original cathedral was built in 1894. It survived the First World War as well as the Revolution of 1917. During the Second World War, near the church there was a cemetery, and in 1964, the place was closed down and turned to the swimming pool. Can you imagine? Only in 2003, the building was given back to the Belarusian Orthodox Church, and in 2007, the St. Nicholas Cathedral was sanctified. In this same area, right across the street from the cathedral and the park, there is a cinema called Tavarish, or Comrade in English. Another couple of buildings worth noting here are Hotel Babruisk and a drama and comedy theater of Duyan Martinkevich. If you keep walking further down Sotsialisticheskaya Street, you will reach Victory Square. Victory Square is a memorial complex. It is an eternal monument dedicated to soldiers killed during the liberation of Babruisk from the Nazi invaders in summer of 1944. There is also a garden, a little park, a nice place to take a break from touring the city. And here we have a popular place for a stroll. That same Socialisticheskaya street, which leads us to one of the main attractions here, the Beaver. Let me introduce you to another landmark in Bobruisk, a former hotel, Berezina and European, built in 1897 by millionaire Karl Niezabytovsky. The locals gave it the nickname Paris. This was the first building made of stone besides the fortress in a typical architectural style of those times. On the ground floor, there used to be a luxurious restaurant and even a travel agency, one of the first ones in that time. It has long been abandoned. There have been attempts to revive the building, but to no avail. Now it's mainly a tourist attraction and even becomes a film setting every now and then. In this same area, you'll see a city market where you can find anything from clothes to fresh produce. As a child, I used to come here to buy clothes with mom. Imagine trying on those jeans on a freezing cold day. Yeah, it used to happen as well. Another cute street to stroll along is Dzerzhinskaya. It actually crosses Socialisticheskaya street. In general, I find this part of the city quite interesting in terms of different old buildings that add up to a certain charm of the city. And by the way, not far from here, there is an amusement park for children where you can also ride a bike and enjoy some time close to nature. One more landmark I'd like to show you, and it's a building of unusual wooden architecture, the house that once belonged to a rich merchant Katsonson. There is a belief that she once traveled to one of the Baltic countries and saw this very building there. She bought it, ordered to have it disassembled, and transported to Bobruisk, where it was put together again in 1912. In modern times, it served as a library, and now there is an advertising agency. We are in Internationalne Street now, and if we keep going down, we'll see a city stadium on the right, and further down we will reach City Park, which is the biggest park in town. In this park, there is a cinema called Mir, amusement park, a place full of birch trees, a fountain. It's a nice place to enjoy. I loved walking there during the week, especially when there weren't that many people around. Overall, you can see how clean the streets are. It is something really noticeable in every Belarusian city I've been to. And we are slowly approaching to the railway station where we started our today's tour. You can probably recognize a bus station in the distance and the train station on the left. And now we'll take a bus, or rather a minibus, to the place where I grew up. I'll tell you about it in a bit, and for now, just enjoy a little ride. Doesn't it feel like we are out of town now? It's a part of Bobruisk called Kisilevichi. It used to be a closed military area. After the military unit was disbanded back in mid-90s, it slowly started to open up. Now it's a nice place, green place, full of nature, pine trees. And this is also a place where I used to live and go to school as a kid. There's another video of mine where I show the school and the former military area, which has turned into the real forest right now. Just make sure to check the link below. Here's just a quick look what the inside of this part of Bobruisk looks like. Of course, there is a military tank, similar to the one we've seen before on the Victory Square. This is the place where different ceremonies take place, such as celebration of Victory Day on May 9th, or solemn walk on a school graduation day. And this is how green it is inside this former military town. And this is one of the buildings you may find on the territory of the former military unit. It's a military barrack. Check my other video which shows you more of what's left here. Well, that would be the end of our tour around Bobruisk today. Let me finish off by taking you on a ride from the city bus station towards the place where you'd normally leave the city if you were to drive to Minsk, for example. As we go, see if you can recognize any of the spots we've been to today. Here's another interesting building worth a picture. What does it remind you of? It has a nickname of Tetris. Any similarity? Alright, we have officially left Bobruisk and heading to Minsk, the capital of Belarus. Check out my next video with a tour around one of the most beautiful cities in Belarus. Don't forget to subscribe to enjoy more travel videos about Belarus and other places around the world.